finally, it should come as a surprise to no one that car companies will share your data with the government when legally obligated to do so. So I opted out of targeted advertising, the sharing or selling of my data, and any marketing communications. Now check your car's privacy and let me know.
Yeah, that is not all creepy.
Disruptive.
America that I fought.
Weird thing to happen. You want to see something wild? So this came in my feed, and I thought this was pretty interesting. This is from Wide Awake Media. Is your car spying on you? As the question. Is your car spying on you? Here's how to check. So they put this little video here, a demonstration on whether or not newer cars have the ability, have the technology to spy on you, and what consumers can do. Watch this.
Is your car spying on you? Here's how to check. You see, I just purchased a Toyota 4Runner after 18 years of driving a Honda Element. It was like a brick phone on wheels, but now I'm driving a smartphone with all kinds of tracking technology. So the first thing I did before even leaving the dealership was turn off as much data collection as possible. I downloaded the manufacturer's app, entered my VIN, and then declined all connected services features. These wirelessly transmit my location and vehicle health to Toyota. Then I went to vehicleprivacyreport.com, entered my VIN, and I about died when I saw all the tracking still on my car. My 4Runner collects identifiers like my name, mailing address, email, and demographic info. It also collects biometrics, including my geolocation, driver's license, and financial info. And I learned my car not only tracks my data, it sells it too. My car sells information to affiliates like sponsors, partners, and advertisers. It shares my data with service providers and its affiliated insurance company, but only if I've provided consent, which I don't remember doing. And finally, it should come as a surprise to no one that car companies will share your data with the government when legally obligated to do so. So I opted out of targeted advertising, the sharing or selling of my data, and any marketing communications. Now check your car's privacy and let me know.
Yeah, that is not all creepy. That is not all disturbing. Knowing that your data is being collected not only with the car manufacturer, but they can obviously sell that information to third-party companies or the government, and God only knows what happens to your vehicle. So, this is unfortunately not something new, because this article that came out, this is back in January of this year, from the CBC, says, is your car spying on you? Here's how vehicles gather your data. Zoe McDonald, or Zoe, I guess it's Zoe, with the two little dots there. Zoe McDonald has pored over the privacy policies and found her car companies are taking your info. When a Tesla Cybertruck exploded outside Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas on New Year's Day, authorities were quickly able to gather information crediting Elon Musk and Tesla for sending them info about the car and its driver. You know, it's funny that they never actually investigated that. Isn't that funny? Of all the things, you know, just like how they never truly investigated the assassination attempts, how that was a cover-up. They've also covered up that and what happened in New Orleans. It's literally amazing that, you know, instances that cause mass casualties just quickly swept under the rug. Really fascinating. But for some, it's alarming to discover what kind of information is so readily available. Most car makers are selling drivers' personal information. That's something that we know based on their privacy policies. Zoe McDonald, a writer and researcher focusing on online privacy and digital rights, told Day 6 host Brett Bambury. The Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department said the Tesla CEO was able to provide key details about the truck's driver, who authorities believe died by self-inflicted gun wound at the scene and its moment leading up to the destruction. With the data, they were able to determine that the explosives came from a device in the truck, not the vehicle itself. We have now confirmed what explosion has caused by very large fireworks and or a bomb carried on the bed of the rented Cybertruck is unrelated to the vehicle itself, Musk wrote on X following the explosion. To privacy experts, it's another example of how your personal information can be used in ways you may not be aware of. And while this kind of data can be useful in an investigation, it's by no means ways companies use the information. This is unfortunately not surprising that they have this data, said David Kofnes, executive director of the Cybersecurity and Privacy Institute at Northeastern University in Boston. When you see it all together and know that a company has that information, continues at any point in time to hand it over to law enforcement, then you start to see a bit of little uncomfortable, even if in some cases it was a good thing for society. CBC News reached out to Tesla for comment, but did not hear back from the publication. So McDonald's says the privacy concerns are a byproduct of all the technology new cars come with these days, including microphones, cameras, and sensors. The app that often accompanies a new car is collecting your information too, she says. The former writer for the Mozilla Foundation worked on a report in 2023 that examined vehicle privacy policies. For the study, McDonald's sifted through privacy policies from auto manufacturers, and she says the findings were staggering. More and more modern cars are connected to the internet, much like our computers and cell phones. And they are also a very sophisticated piece of technology, said McDonald. What that means for your personal privacy, I'm not sure that the conversion has really caught up for one reason or another. Most shocking of all is the information the car can learn from you, McDonald says. It's not just when you gas up or start your engine. Your vehicle can learn your sexual activity, disability status, and even your religious beliefs. I mean, sadly, if a phone and computer are spying on you, if you have any smart devices in your home that is already picking up information, I mean, no doubtably that a car could do the same if it has that same technology. And now with cars becoming more and more electric and more mandates being pushed to push people towards electric vehicles, yeah, this could be a reason why. That now you have a tracking device along with a car that may or may not be a good condition in our Canadian climate. Isn't that something? McDonald says it's very unclear how the car companies do this because the information, the policies are so vague. It can also collect biometric data such as facial geometric figures, iris scans, and fingerprints. This is wow. And they wonder why a gas guzzling, old Toyota, or you have like an old Pontiac, that they're so terrified of you driving that. They're so terrified of you having a gas guzzler car from the 90s or 80s. But it's okay to have a surveillance tool driving around as long as it's electric. Every time you use one of these fancy features in your car because it's connected to the internet, you create a tiny little record of what you just did, said McDonald. This extends far past the driver. McDonald says she reads one privacy policy that requires drivers to read out a statement every time someone enters the vehicle to make them aware of the data the car collects, something that seems unlikely to go down before your Uber ride. And car companies aren't just keeping that information to themselves. Confronted with these types of privacy concerns, many people simply say they have nothing to hide. Yeah, that argument is so hilarious. Oh, you shouldn't have anything to hide then. Really? So you want strangers to know your PIN, your personal information to get into your bank account? You have nothing to hide in that? How about your blood type? How about your social security so that somebody else can get your checks? Nothing to hide. But when money is involved, they change their tune. According to an investigation from the New York Times in March of 2024, General Motors shared information on how people drive their cars with data brokers that create risk profiles for the insurance industry, which results in people's insurance premiums going up. General Motors has since said it has stopped sharing those details. Wonder why? The issues with these kinds of services is that it's not clear that what is being done in correct or fair way, and that those costs are actually unfair to consumers, said Schaffners. For example, if you make a hard stop to avoid an accident because of something the car in front of you did, the vehicle could register it as poor driving. The Federal Trade Commission in the United States announced Thursday it has proposed a settlement preventing General Motors from selling consumers geolocation and driver behavior data to consumer reporting agencies for the next 5 years. Why only 5 years? Why is it such a short time period? Why can't it just be not selling this data? It's so eerie. It's so eerie. And it's even more terrifying to know that while I'm reading you this, that especially here in Canada, the mandate of pushing people towards these types of vehicles. I don't care what people drive. I'm not going to be against people. If you want to drive an electric vehicle, go ahead. That's your decision. What have you? That's consumer decision. But know what you're getting. Know what you're getting. That it's not just dealing with a stalled battery in a cold winter's night. That you're driving around in a surveillance tool that could take your personal data and make decisions for you. And there was even a video. Oh, I wish I had that. There was a video that showed that you can actually remote control these vehicles with that data. That if you have the information, if you have the driver's license, the driver, the account, what have you, you can program that in and be miles and miles away, hacking into that car and remote control it. So, how does that make people feel? How does that make people feel that this is going to be beneficial some way? Brian Kingston, president and CEO of the Canadian Vehicle Manufacturers Association, says its member companies share a strong focus on protecting their customers' privacy. Those members include Ford Motor Company of Canada, General Motors of Canada, and Stellantis. Each of our member companies comply with the comprehensive requirements of the Canadian federal and provincial privacy laws, which provide for the safeguarding of consumer personal information, Kingston said in a statement emailed to the CBC. So, Brian Kingston is not related to Sean Kingston. Just want to point that out. But that is the individual, which we showed before, is actually challenging Mark Carney against the vehicle mandates, saying that pushing everyone to electric vehicle is not feasible. It's not feasible for the consumer being in a Canadian climate, but it's also not feasible for the manufacturers because we have such a short window. And considering the fact that the Canadian government and provincial governments, like here in Ontario, have spent huge amounts of money investing into EV battery production facilities and all these different conglomeracies into manufacturing electric vehicles, and it goes belly up. Either the company goes broke or they decide to go elsewhere, and that money just completely disappears. So we know that's not feasible. We know that's not feasible to transform the entire country into an electric vehicle. There's no possible way that could ever work. We don't have the energy infrastructure to do it. We don't have the manufacturing infrastructure to do it. And now you're understanding that electric vehicles, of course, are going to take information of you, that they have cameras, that they have microphones, that they have the abilities, the same way a phone, a computer, even smart televisions. Anything that has a smart device and has the ability to record you, it will. And do you think that they're committing to their promise of, oh, of course we're not going to sell that information. Of course we respect the privacy data of our customers. Because I'm sure that in somewhere in that terms of service agreement that you automatically check away before reading it, that in between the lines, I'm sure that they found some legal loophole to sell off that information. Hence why it's kind of interesting why the government of Canada, why so many companies, why it gets you, you find out the psychology of direction of this. Why they're so interested in pushing for electric vehicles. Is it really because they care about the planet? Is it really because of that? Is it really because, climate change? So they say, these are people that absolutely destroy more of the planet than I do, than any one of us can do in our lifetime. Is it really about that? Or is it because, hey, electric vehicles are like smartphones and we can take your data, we can sell it off, we can do whatever we want to these people, whatever you want to these chums, even remote control them. Keep that in mind. Hey, here at Kitz Corner, we want to thank you, our viewers and our subscribers that tune into Kitz Corner for the latest dives in trending news, political conspiracies, and the craziest of stories. However, being in this business isn't an easy job. Because we're independent, we can dive into stories that the mainstream outlets are afraid to do so. But unfortunately, that doesn't give us the luxury of big advertising or government subsidies. That's why we reach out to you. You can support Kitz Corner and get some cool new threads in the process. Say what? That's right, check out our merch store, where we have a big selection of t-shirts, mugs, stickers, sweaters, bags, and more. All with interesting designs too, like this True North Strong and Free. So if you want to show off your support, go to our website at kitzcorner.net. That's kitzcorner.net. And click the store link at the top of the screen. Or you can scan the QR code provided on screen to get instant access to our merch store. Your support makes a huge difference at what we do here. So why not wear your support too? So go to kitzcorner.net or scan the QR code on your screen to get to our one-of-a-kind Kitz Corner merchandise store. Thank you.